Hello, and welcome to Smashing Apps. In fact, welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Smashing Apps, to make it sound far more exciting than it actually is. Basically, we've rebooted Smashing Apps with ADEs from the class of 2023, which means that we've got three incredible educators here with me today. But you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, what is Smashing Apps? What's this guy talking about? Basically, Smashing Apps is the best staff room conversation without having to be in the staff room. It's the best staff meeting without being told all the extra jobs to do. It's the place where hopefully you can get inspired and take some really good ideas that you can use in your classroom from some incredibly talented educators from all around the world. We've got a UK special today with three educators all from the UK, but in the following episodes we'll branch a little bit further afield. But everyone's got an idea to share. A simple idea, a more complex idea, but one that hopefully will inspire you to take something new into your classroom. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pass to Rachel to introduce herself first of all.
Hi, I'm Rachel Smith and I teach at a primary school in London in Fulham, and I am the head of digital learning there. So we do lots of stuff with our one-to-one iPad scheme, lots of creative projects with our inquiry curriculum.
Fantastic. Amarjit?
Hi, my name's Amarjit and I'm a special needs educator from Birmingham, England, computing lead, and my role involves supporting staff and children to develop their computing skills.
Fantastic. And Mark?
So my name's Mark Goldhawk and I'm the assistant head and head of digital learning at a prep school in Surrey, so just south of the M25. Very similar to what Rachel and Amarjit are doing, so leading computing but also helping pupils and staff with getting familiar with technology and how to embed it and use it within lessons successfully. And it was, I just want to say now, it was a pleasure to meet everyone last week. So many ideas still buzzing around.
So when you're watching this, it's actually going to be September the 1st, or maybe even. So time travel is a thing. But that's great. What Mark is talking about is last week or last month or last year, whenever you're watching it, middle of August sort of time, we all met up in Reading at the Apple Distinguished Educator Conference. And we shared so many different ideas and we learned so much from everybody. And the whole concept of Smashing Apps is to try and distill a little bit of that and share it with a wider audience. So that was a great segue, Mark. Thank you. All that is really simple. Each person is going to have about 5 minutes to share something on their iPad, and then we'll have a little discussion about it afterwards and we'll move on. So hopefully in about half an hour's time, you'll be inspired and you'll be ready to go and take that iPad to the next level in your classroom. Rachel, should we start off with you? I think you're going to be showing us something very cool you can do in Keynote.
Okay. So I'm going to be showing a very simple activity of how to make a GIF using Keynote. So this is kind of like stop motion, but I find it a lot easier to use than stop motion. It's a lot less setting up. It's something that children can do quite quickly on their iPads. It can be adapted for all ages. I've done this with 7-year-olds, but it can be adapted for older students as well. And it really just lets the children be quite creative with how they want to present it. And there's lots of opportunity for progression on how they could up-level it and make it look even cooler. So I actually earlier just took some pictures of this pair of scissors in lots and lots of different positions with a very steady hand. I took about 8 photographs of them just as a very simple example. It's not the most creative one, but it's a simple one to show today. And I've just opened a new Keynote, so I'm just going to get rid of the titles on here. And I'm just going to change the size of it so that it matches the photograph size, so I'm not left with any white space around the side when I put my photo in. So I'm just going to press on the arrow at the top there and press presentation options, presentation setup, and then at the bottom where it says slide size, I can then change the size. I'm going to do it to the ratio 4:3, which will be the same as a photograph from the iPad. So once you've done that, you just press done. And I'm going to need about 8 of these just so I've got enough for all of my pictures. So they'll go on each slide. There we go. And then I'll just go here to input my photograph. So you can see my scissors pictures are there. So I'm going to start with the first one, obviously, and just very simply upload each one to each page. Now this is where you have to do it quite carefully and make sure you're doing them in order. Otherwise it's going to mess up the entire GIF. So I'm just going to quickly put those in. And you also have the option, after you put them in, you could remove the background depending on wherever you took it. And that also allows you to be a bit more creative with adding different backgrounds in, adding photographs as the background, or whatever you would like. So once you've got your pictures in, as I said, just by tapping on the photograph, this is probably my favorite feature in Keynote, is you can remove the background and it will just leave the scissors there on the page. When they're closed like this, there's a little bit in the middle that has the background, but I can just tap on that and try my best to get rid of it in the neatest way possible. So once you've done that, you can delete them on every single page, and then you're just left with the scissors, which I think is a much more creative way of doing it. So if I go to my other keynotes, I can show, in fact, no, I'll stick on this one, sorry. Just quickly do it on all of them. And then from there, you're basically going to have a very simple GIF that you can export straight away, and it'll be a moving image. And what's really nice about them is that they save as images. They're not saved as videos. So if you want to import it somewhere, it's a smaller file. It's much easier to do something with rather than a video, which is always quite a big file. So to export it, if you just wanted to leave it as it is, you can press export, animated GIF, and it will give you these options. The most important thing here is to look at the slide range. Just here, and just make sure that you have all of your slides included, otherwise the GIF obviously won't work. So that seems to be an error that's made quite a lot. So 1 to 8 in this case. You can also do as many images as you want. I just thought I'd do a short one for today. And then this bar here will show how many seconds you can see at the bottom your GIF's going to be. So you could make it really slow, or you can make it quite fast. So I'll maybe do about 2 seconds. I press export. And then from there, you'll be able to save it to your camera roll just as an image. So that's a really, really basic way of doing it. So you could have the children in the classroom taking pictures of things around the room, whatever they want to. I always got people to work as partners, and the partner held the iPad and they did the pictures, just to kind of ensure a steady hand. Because I find if you're moving around as you're taking the pictures, it's going to make it all look a bit shaky. So yeah, working in twos tends to be best for that. So there I can just save it nice and simply like that. But what you can also do, which I've done a lot with children at my school, is using the markup tools in Keynote to draw on top of your images to kind of add a bit of creativity to the GIFs. So if I show you a simple example, so say if I get my pens up here, I could draw, I'm just going to do it off and do it a bit bigger because I can't draw very small. It's quite hard. If I drew something like this, filled it in white just to make sure it's all white, and then did a little pupil. Forgive my terrible drawing. I could even just add a few eyelashes on there and make it look a bit like an eye. If I come out of drawing, then I can make it smaller and I could move it onto a certain part of my scissors. What I always say when drawing eyes is draw one and then just copy and paste it, because then you don't need to make them look identical. So just simply copy and paste. If you wanted to be really fancy and have the eyelashes going the other way, you could flip it, or not horizontally, that way. And then you've got your eyes, and you could copy and paste them onto each of your images so that it looks like it's moving with the picture. I'll show you one I've done earlier because watching me draw might be quite tedious. But very simply, I kind of added some lips and some eyes here to my scissors. And again, if I export that as a GIF, I've added some teeth as well later on. Never forgetting to do the slide range. 2 seconds, export.
This is very Blue Peter with what you made earlier. It's excellent.
I know, I thought otherwise it might be quite long just watching me draw.
Well,
so you could see that now my scissors have some teeth, some very red lips. And from there, you could put different things around the page that the scissors could be eating. Again, creativity. That could be the sort of every child starts with the scissors and then you see where they go, where they take it. I did another one here where I just changed the background. So then each slide has a different background, and that just makes it look quite jazzy, quite creative. The one that I worked on probably the longest was I put my scissors underwater and I had it chasing a little fish. So if I export this one as a GIF, this is all just using things on Keynote, using the backgrounds, using the images, using a bit of drawing as well. Yeah, 2 seconds should be fine for that. It might be quite fast. I mean, I don't know why scissors are underwater, but here we are. If I save that, I can make it come up a little bit bigger on my camera roll. Ooh. There we go. Oh, is it not? Is it showing? Yeah, it might be a bit slow when it shares screen. And again, you could slow that down or speed it up or whatever. I've also got a few examples, which maybe I can, just of ones that I've done with pupils in school. Again, it might be a bit glitchy, but I can send them over.
Yeah.
But very simple. And it's something that can be used across subjects. I feel I've seen teachers in my school doing it for like layers of the rainforest, a food cycle, gears in science, like in physics, or heart, like the blood pumping around a heart, anything that's sort of continuous. It's quite good because obviously it's just a repeating image. It's so simple, very easy to do on Keynote, lots of creative possibilities. And as I said, very easy, like much easier than doing like a stop motion animation, which takes quite a lot of setting up. You could do it just in one lesson as one activity. So that's pretty much it.
That's super, super cool. As soon as you put, as soon as you put eyes and mouth on something, it immediately turns completely different. And for children, that makes it so much more accessible. We did a plastic pollution project, and they were, making plastic bottles into like, humanistic kind of, that's completely wrong way of saying it. They were adding like features onto plastic bottles so that we're getting like recycled and thrown in the sea. They were looking more upset and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's lovely, isn't it?
That's a really good idea.
Mark, have you had any chance to use GIFs in Keynote? Have you had any experience with your class?
I have a little bit. There was actually some GIFs on the Canva app, which I'm showing as well, but I'm a massive fan of GIFs. I think just the simplicity of them is brilliant. And like you said, Rachel, there's so many different times you can use it within a lesson. There's thousands and thousands of different ideas. But the kids love them as well. I mean, they send GIFs to each other on text and WhatsApp and all sorts, so they know exactly what they're doing with them.
I think that makes the learning more engaging, doesn't it? Because it's a medium that they're very used to. It's more exciting than photographs. And with the drawing, those markup tools that you demoed, they can really make it whatever they want. It could be talking, it could be exploding in color, it could be just about anything really, which is lovely.
Yeah.
My only thing that I found, I taught this with Year 5 class, is that we got really like bogged down and putting the pictures onto each page. And when you have pictures, and then one of the children, I can't remember their name, said, Mr. Walcott, why don't we just do this? And they blew my mind. Are you able to jump back into screen share in a second? So
absolutely.
This already, but I certainly didn't. But for people looking at this and thinking, I'd love to do like a stop motion, but it takes a long time, this is a really, really helpful little tip.
Oh, great.
If you go into split screen mode at the top on those three dots and you bring up photos side by side with Keynote for me.
You could drag them in.
So if you then...
hang on, I've done on the wrong one.
It's okay.
Okay.
So if you select those pictures again of your pair of scissors, now what you don't do is you don't drag it off the page itself. Because I tried that once and thought it was lovely. You drag it off and side where the slides are.
The thumbnails.
The slide for each one. There you go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That blew my mind.
Ooh.
That's
so much quicker.
There you go. It's mad, isn't it?
Can't wait to take that back to school.
They were there like finishing miles for everyone else. So hang on, what have you done here? And when they showed the glass, it was one of those like, light bulb moments. Because suddenly, they were able to share that knowledge with everyone else. So a really cool little addition to that Keynote.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Amarjit, have you done much with these GIFs? Have you been inspired by any ideas? Or?
I've personally used GIFs for one of the Christmas projects that was kind of going around on Twitter a couple of years ago. Haven't done many with classes, but we do use a lot of stop motion.
Yeah.
But I'll surely now switch over to Keynote. And I was working on a project just earlier on. I was thinking, we should do something on Keynote. But Rachel's really inspired me now, and with the fish and everything, I'm thinking sensory straight away. So I'm thinking putting maybe stuff in water, maybe a bit of plasticine and children squashing that or something along those lines. I wouldn't let our children play with scissors unless they're safety scissors, purely because of the nature of children we have. but yeah, so much. I mean, I've taken about 4 lessons from Rachel just now, and your little keynote tip at the end is going to be ping. It's going to be that's going to be used a lot as well.
And this is in those conversations, we kind of share ideas off each other, and it inspires these different ideas, and that's the wonderful thing. Rachel, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, we'll think, we can do that, and if they do, I'd like to hope they could share it with you, perhaps on Twitter or the Apple Education Forum, and share that.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I think we'll pass over next to Amarjit, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I came across this app whilst I was still at uni, and I was kind of studying to understand how I could improve the kind of the way we use iPads at school, because we were having a lot of behaviours, and I came across like sensory apps, and this one I've had now for the best part of 6 or 7 years, and I'm yet to see a student who doesn't like this app. It's a very simple app. I mean, it's pretty much what you see on the interface. I mean, straight away the colours are quite striking, and it just invites children in. And then it's kind of your creativity, how you want to use this app. So I always start off, if we're doing a writing lesson, I will start off with this box, which is on the lower left-hand side. And what you could come across straight away is just loads of little boxes. And for me, it was just so inviting for children to like tap and start, working with these colours and then being creative with how they can use these particular elements of this app. So to start off, say if we just started, so you can select one from each section. Once you start and you touch your screen, you've got all these lovely colours that come across. And what my children find, it's really soothing. And, so this could be like, maybe a reception class. It could be a year 6 class, depending on the kind of children I'm working with. And then what you could also start, you can start writing your names, and you've got all these funky colours. The name disappears, and you think, oh no, we need to write again. So then it's kind of writing practice at the same time, and you'll keep going and going and going. That's kind of one element of this particular app. Then if you can use 2 fingers, and again, this helps a lot with pincer grips, and I'll say, no, put two fingers on the screen. You've now got like these ribbon effects coming on. And then what you can do with these is, as these fade away, you can press the cross. You can then go into a different part of the app, and the colours and the textures completely change. And what my children find, it's just soothing and relaxing for them. But as you go into different parts of the app, and I'll just quickly kind of speed along. So you go into this kind of fan effect, 4-way, and you've got, so you can choose kind of how bold and how wide you want your creation. And again, what you've got now is like these really funky colours. And every time you take your finger off the screen and start again, you get like a different set of colours, which even gets children who aren't creative to be creative. And what we get is children coming back and saying, oh, look at this, look at the colours on this, look at the shape I've got here. And again, if you use your 2 fingers, you've now got all these really cool backgrounds, which then can also, before you start, if you tap the export button, what you can now get is make your creation. Let's say you've got this, you can export it and save it into your files. If you give me the option, save it into your files, and I've did Coloco, there we go. So we'll save it into there. Let's just replace that for now. And what you've got now is this particular design saved into your files, which can then be used in many different apps. I mean, I've used them in Keynote, which I'm going to try and find you on now in my Keynote designs. So they can then use this into their, well, let's pop it into this. Let's pop it into it. I was just working on something. So if I then, let's have a look. Let's say if I use this, open, I've now got this as a background. I could also then use this for shapes. This could be anything from, making a border for a printout. The children can then print it out and then use it as a, for cutting and sticking and creating their own designs. It's just sort of open-ended of like how we can use it. There's one I did earlier, I think, as well. I'm going to try and find that for you. There you go. This is what I was doing earlier. So this is a completely different design. They can then put all their designs together if they wanted to, like in different sections. That's the options are quite endless on how they can use this particular app. But for me, more than anything else, it was the calming of this app, which children just really, really enjoy. And, the writing element of it, the relaxation element of it, you can just go kind of on and on, and the colours are absolutely amazing. Like, I know children that I work with would not normally create something like this, and they can just kind of get really funky with their designs. And then what this clown does on top is, if they want kind of this kind of a rippling kind of effect, you can tap the clown and the whole thing starts moving, which is another element of the app which they like. And some of my children just like that kind of that moving, kind of like, so that being on the sea effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of, it's quite a basic app, but you can get really, really creative with it. Use it for, I've used it for borders of like display boards, and, children sort of putting T-shirts and whatever designs in Keynote and using their creations. But as I said, this just depends on the kind of children I'm working with. If it's a reception class, they literally just swipe in. If I've then gone into a year 6 class, they can get quite creative with it, and just blows their mind, like the colours and the creations and it's I love the app, and the amount of times I found myself sitting at home, maybe on my phone, and just swiping through, and it's just relaxing.
I love it. It's one of those examples to me of an app that does a particular job really, really well. It doesn't try to do a million different things, but it's aimed at that target demographic. It's so child friendly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what struck me from the minute I found it. I'm not even sure how I came across it, but yeah, I remember I came back, I thought, wow, this is amazing. And every child I've used it with find it really, really relaxing to use. And, children have come back to me saying, when I work with a lot of children with autism, and when they've had like, a moment and they've used this app, they've come back to me and said, this app really helps me relax and calm down. So that's exactly what it's made for. And it's obviously serving its purpose.
That's amazing. I imagine Rachel and Mark, you could probably picture children like I am right now, could probably really benefit from an experience like that. It's got my head spinning of different children perhaps who'd really...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And the best is free.
It's free.
It's free, yeah.
Great.
We can all have it.
So Mark, were you like me, thinking desperately the whole way through that? I wonder what the clown does.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I have you to figure out what the clown did? Because I certainly I did not predict it to be doing that.
No. What a surprise.
It all went a bit psychedelic, and it was amazing.
I mean, I was having a little disco here at the end. That was brilliant.
The clown has 3 different settings, so like just starts off as a really slow ripple, and then like gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, up to 3. And that's like you can screen record it, use it at the back of videos, and options are endless.
It'd be amazing, Rachel, with the background fuel gifts in Keynote.
It would be. I was actually thinking that we could collaborate on that. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, we're going to do a project together, Rachel.
Yeah.
So that's such a cool app, and like you said, I can imagine so many children will benefit from that. Now, I know when we spoke before, you mentioned the dance typing, something along those lines.
Yeah, so we do a lot of dance writing where children are experiencing, all senses. They will listen to some music and they might use wax crayons, or they'll put cardboard on the floor and they can paint and they can write. But what I've done is kind of digitalized this with Coloco, so they can play some music either in the classroom or on their iPad, and then they can swipe, maybe use different fingers. I mean, we just encourage them to get creative with it.
Yeah.
And, as I mentioned, so, the 2 fingers, nobody, I mean, I found out by accident. I thought, oh, wow, this is like, I could swipe across. And the effect is different than children are trying to write that, and they're pushing, and, it's just really to improve the pincer grip's creativity. I can go on and on about such a simple app, but it's I just find it absolutely amazing, and it's been working for me for the last 7 years.
Yeah, Thank you so much. The simple apps are almost always the best because they do something, like I said earlier, but they do it really well. And when you look at that, from a design point of view, you might think, yeah, hang on a minute, what's all this about? But when you think, no, if I put myself in that child's shoes, it's really exciting. It's really inviting. It's friendly. There aren't hundreds of buttons to press. If we wanted to do a drawing in class, you have to open the app, you have to find a new page, choose the page size, choose what tool you want, choose your color, choose the brush size, then you get started. This is just tap, tap, and you're away. And I think that's a really powerful thing to enable children to be able to do. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. So we're going to finish off this episode of Smashing Apps with Mark. Now, I'm excited about this because Mark is going to share Canva. This is an app that I've used a little bit of here and there. I never really feel like I've understood the depth of it and all the different things it can do. I'm not expecting Mark you to do an entire run through of the entire product, but I'm very much looking forward to being inspired by some of these ideas for Canva. So Mark, I'll pass it over to you.
Brilliant, thank you. So I'm going to show you Canva. And yeah, when you chatted to me the other day, Jacob, I was like, oh, what bit should I show? Because literally it's unlimited. There's so many different things you can talk about with Canva. And I could bore you to death for hours showing all the different bits and pieces. But I thought I'd focus on just the creativity part of it. And that's really what I've used it for and what the children I've been teaching have used it for. It's just all the creative tools in there. So when I started with it, I only started using the inbuilt templates within it. So when you go to create a design at the top, you can see the different things that they offer, even just basic documents through to presentations, even down to sort of templates that are designed for like Instagram. So you can see we can start to spark that curiosity with the children. But I very much started with just basic presentations, and I would look at the templates that they have available. And there are so many. You can see down here all the different variety ones, and behind each one, you can see as it scrolls through, it's got all the different page templates. So immediately they've got these really catching designs that not only can save you a bit of time as a teacher when you're creating these presentations for your lessons, but the children have that starting point as well. But you can search at the top for a variety of different topics. So I thought, if I could spell today, I thought we'd look at the solar system and just see what comes up. So if I choose, let's go for this design down here. There we go. So you can see here all the different templates that you've got available. So if I bring in that one there, you've got all these different designs over the left-hand side. You can start to build your slide deck down the bottom. So initially it's just the really catching designs. There's various different elements that you can bring in from the left-hand side, and you can search through thousands and thousands of different bits. And it's also got some really cool animations that you can do. So even with just this starting page, if I click on one of these and go to animate, one of my favorite ones is this wiggle one. So if I add these to my different designs or different elements on the page, I can get them all to start wiggling around. There we go. So even straight away, there's just some really cool and funky things you can do with it that catch that attention straight away. So that was sort of where I started my journey with Canva. And I was very much just using the inbuilt templates. But then I think it's probably only in the last sort of 4 or 5 months with all the hype around AI, there's been loads of different creative tools that they've brought in, and they labeled them like they're magic tools. And I suppose they are a little bit of magic. If I add a different page in here, one of the first ones they put in was this text to image. And there's loads of tools like this online, but you have to pay for them for some of the really good ones, or it's just a bit complicated. The thing that's really nice for this is once you've signed up for Canva for Education, which is all completely free, your children get accounts as well. And it's just there all in one place for them to access. So they don't have to keep going out to different platforms. So if I search in, let's put something like that, planet Earth in someone's hands, it's just going to generate an image that we can then put onto the page. Whilst it's doing that, sometimes there we go, it's already up already. Let's choose one of these so we can just add images on. So you can see the power of this already. The children can start adding bits and pieces to their pages. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what else it could do with these magic tools. And I discovered this Canva assistant down the bottom here. And there are loads of different bits in here. So in Magic Design, I could say I want a presentation to be put together about the introduction to the SO system. And I'll give it a bit of time, but what it should do is it should create a presentation for me. It will give me the option for different designs that we can put in. So that one looks quite good. There we go, let's create that one. And you can see down the bottom, it's then added in all these different slides with suggested text, suggested images. And it's really, I mean, this isn't, if a child just did this and submitted that, I'd be like, I think I've seen some of this before, but it gives you a starting point. And yeah, you can see all the different, like, really cool designs that it comes up with. Other bits as well. So that was that one. If I had another slide in, let's go back to photos. I'm going to use one I found earlier. So let's just take this picture here. There's loads of editing tools within Canva as well. So if I tap on the photo and tap on edit photo at the top, you have sort of some familiar tools. So you can do background removal in Canva like you can do in Keynote. So it works very similar way. There's other ones like Magic Eraser, which if there's time, I'll see if I can find a picture it works well on. But if you've got a photo and you really want something to be removed, you can tap on Magic Eraser and it magically erases them. And it guesses what should be in that spot if that object wasn't there. But the one that I really like and children really like is Magic Edit. So if I go into Magic Edit, let's say I want over here there to be the picture of the sun. So I can draw this sort of brushwork over the top and click continue. Now, moment of truth. There's always the pressure with live demos. You never know what's going to come up. So hopefully it's going to generate some different photos that you can then put onto this canvas. Whilst it's spinning away, some of the things that we've used this for, so the Magic Edit, is to create backgrounds for apps like ThingLink. So the children love using ThingLink. They can create a design in Canva. There we go. Bring those across. Even with like green screening, they can create their own backdrop. Whereas in the past, they might have just searched online for a picture and brought it into the green screen app. They're now creating their own designs. I actually quite like that one, so I'm going to leave that one there. But they can keep adding in different objects. If I go back into this and put, and let's go here. Let's see if we can bring in an astronaut. Yeah, there's loads and loads of different objects that they can bring in and create their own designs that, yeah, like I said, they can use in different apps. So you can see the sort of journey that we've been on with Canva. It started off very simple, and I think that's the really nice thing, is you can log into it. Once you've got your account, you can log into it. You can just play around with all the different templates, all the different designs. And then as you and the children you teach become more confident with it, you can start playing around with all these different tools that are available. And they keep releasing things. I think the best place I've gone for inspiration on Canva is actually Instagram. They keep putting these live videos out every couple of days, and you keep seeing them. You go, oh, I'm going to go and try that, and you start building into different lessons that you come up with. But yeah, that's Canva in a nutshell. Like I say, you could spend hours playing around and going through all the different features that are available. But hopefully that sort of sparks some ideas of what you could use it for yourself as well.
Mark, thank you. That's awesome. It blows my mind. I haven't seen that AI stuff in Canva, not properly, not magic editing stuff, not the magic presentation. I've seen the text to image on there. Yes. But to think that we've got tools now that our children can use where they can create things in their imagination as easily as that, it's really, really powerful. You know, there are so many tools for AI that are complicated, that require signups, that you have to jump onto a Discord server to make them work or whatever. And yet this is literally there, again, in that friendly, easy to use way. It's really empowering, isn't it, for those learners?
It's really empowering. And there's, like I say, there's just so many different things that they can do. I mean, even that, just linking back to the institute we all attended last week, there was that massive theme about inclusivity and using the translation app. And you can do that within Canva as well. So if you've built a slide deck that you then want to translate, you can add in that app down here, and you can automatically choose what it should detect. So should it just detect that text on that page? What would you like to translate it to? So I'm going to choose something completely random and click translate, and it will then translate that page for you, and it adds it into the slide deck. So I think you do have a limit on this. You only get about 500 a month, but yeah, there's so many different possibilities and things that you can play around with. It is really, really cool.
That alone is another tip that is worth back in there. That's absolutely wild. That's so cool. I mean, where you've got children who are the EAL, that makes the entire learning accessible to them without any extra work from the teacher. Even copying and paste it into Google Translate or whatever you do at the bus, you don't need to do that. It's just there. That's phenomenal. Do either of you two, Rachel, Amarjit, do you have any experience with Canva? Have you used it in the class or at home? Or?
Yeah, I've used it quite a lot in my school, but just as teachers, we haven't actually introduced it to the pupils yet, but it is something we're looking at for September. But yeah, love it. Love the AI features, and even just like my teachers use it a lot for displays in the classroom or lesson planning, making resources. It's just, it's very creative, lots of different ideas and possibilities. I love all the pictures in it. It's so much better than going anywhere else, I think, all the little graphics and things.
No, it's really good. And that's something else as well. I mean, even if you're not using the AI tools, they have a whole sort of photo library of banks of images. And what Canva have done is, if you're a normal user, you have to pay for it on the monthly subscription. But for Canva for Education, I think they have literally released everything that you would pay for as a pro user and given it to education. So I think it's K to 12 is you have to teach that sort of age range. But it's amazing what they've done.
Yeah, it's really good. And the collaboration element is also really good. You can share projects with teachers, which is really handy. And you could literally teach your lesson from Canva and present it in there as well. So if you had the animations, you wouldn't have to download it as a PDF or a movie or anything.
Yeah, and it's really easy to share. I mean, at the top, once you've got the different user accounts in, you can tap the plus button, and it's like with most other systems, you can just type in the names. Or we've actually got it hooked up to our MIS, so all our classes are synced across to it. But you can make it work for whatever environment you're working with. If you've got shared devices with shared accounts, you can add those as well.
So Amarjit, as a teacher, do you think that's something that you could use to create resources for using with your students, like Rachel was saying?
I mean, I used a little bit of Canva during lockdown to kind of get a little bit creative and send out lessons, and just so they attracted children to actually do their work. And it worked, which was really good. And I tried at that time, I remember emailing to everybody saying, try Canva. I'd just been kind of introduced to it via Twitter, I think. And but I've kind of just cooled off it for, just because my role is very different at work. But I've got a handful of teachers now who have just taken it upon themselves to sign up, and they've discovered Canva. And there's two of them who are like, they swear by Canva, and they think it's like it's changed their life. But the only problem I have with it with the children is it's a little bit sort of overwhelming. There's a lot going on, and but at the same time, it gives children the opportunity to be creative when sometimes pen and paper just doesn't cut it. They can type in, they can have support, and just create their own designs, can't they? And it's very inclusive. So there's plus points and there's points that for my children.
We found that as well. The first time we literally let them loose on it, they went all over it and found there were so many different things. But how do we overcome it? So we introduced assignments. There's an assignment feature on here where you can lock them into like a template, or say that's the template you have to use. So it does help limit it down a little bit. But you're right, for some children, it's just, so many different things they could do on it.
That's really interesting. Don't I, I as an adult find it overwhelming, just like you said. So actually, if you can limit it to how children back certain things through that assignment, that's really useful. I didn't know you could do that either.
Yeah, I think it's at the top somewhere. It's one of these at the top here. Assignment. There we go. And you can, a bit like on Teams or Google Classroom, those sorts of apps, you can set it in a similar way.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So when you're introducing perhaps your colleagues in your school, do you tend to start with like presentations as like the buy-in? I mean, Rachel, you mentioned your colleagues using it as well. What's the first step if you want to introduce it into your school?
I think, ours was definitely like an alternative to Twinkle, looking for resources and creating displays for the classroom. And it's kind of expanded over the last academic year when all the AI features are released and things like that. And teachers have sort of found that they can use it for lots of other things as well. And the frames element is also really cool, where you can put a video into or a picture into like any kind of screen sort of size, or like on a t-shirt or a mug or something. So that's quite fun as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot to unpick in Canva then. It's a lot to unpick.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, look, I won't keep the video any longer, but I wanted to say a massive thank you to all three of you for sharing what you shared today. I'm hoping people are watching this will have taken loads of ideas. I certainly have. And I've taken a lot from this, but I want to now get back to my class and start implementing some of these things. The color app, Coloco, I think that's absolutely fabulous. And I can think of so many children in so many situations who would find that a really useful tool for creativity, but also a really accessible tool for support in other ways. So Amarjit, thank you so much for sharing that. And the gifts in Keynote, it's such a cool feature built into an app that we use every day. And it's easy and it's accessible, and the possibilities are endless to what you can create. So Rachel, thank you for sharing that. So Mark, all those AI features that have come along recently, they're really exciting. And Canva, like you said, on their Instagram page, they're already sharing what they're updating and what's coming next. And it's one of those apps that's continuously evolving and evolving and evolving. And as educators, like you mentioned, we get access to all of that for free, which is a powerful thing. In fact, that means that all three of our apps today are completely free. So that's a bonus as well. So thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to share any, things that you've made, having watched this with the people in the video, please do. I'll put their Twitter or X or, well, it's going to be September the 1st, so who knows what it'll be called by then. I'll put that down below anyway, and you can go and find them. And I feel sure they'd love to see what you're creating as a response to this. And in the Apple Education forum as well, you can leave a comment down below if you're watching it on there. And that's it from Smashing Apps. I will see you all next month with 3 new brilliant educators. Amarjit, Rachel, Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.